Maverick, what's going on, buddy?
It's going.
First show ever.
First show.
I'm honored. What's the name of this show, man? What'd you
So I decided
decide on?
to make it the Mavericks.
The Mavericks.
Yeah. No apostrophe.
No
so
apostrophe.
It's not possessive. So the Mavericks podcast, and it's going to be kind of on the definition of Maverick.
Okay.
Which means it kind of goes off of unorthodox and not really set to a specific subject. So the idea is when I'm interviewing other people, it's kind of different topics, different people, not necessarily confined to one specific idea or one specific perspective.
You're a wild pony.
Right.
Who gave you that idea of using the word Maverick for your name?
Actually, you did.
I thank you very much. I did.
I couldn't think of something. I did not grab your last name though.
Cree. C-R-E-E.
Oh, Cree.
What is your last name, Maverick?
Dickinson.
Dickinson?
Yes, sir. Dickinson.
Dickinson.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I was adopted by my grandmother, and my original last name was Haskell, so it's H-E-I-S-K-E-L-L. And I got adopted, and I was the only one that wanted to keep our original last name.
Oh, you knew your dad's original last name, even though you were adopted?
Yeah, we were adopted I was adopted at like 10, I believe.
Don't people usually not know who their parents are when they get adopted?
I think it depends on the circumstance.
Okay.
Because when I was adopted, I had already lived with my mom and my dad.
Oh.
They were married when we were kids.
Oh, okay.
And then
so slightly different situation.
Yeah, and then we went through CPS twice. I don't remember the exact stories, and I could be completely wrong because obviously I was a kid.
Is that pretty rough on you? I'm interviewing him.
It was. I don't remember much of it, and I'm probably thankful that I do not remember a lot of it.
Yeah.
Partially because I was a kid, and when you're a kid, you block out traumas.
At what age were you when you went to your now mom?
So my grandmother, which is my dad's mom.
Okay.
My dad's mom. I moved in with her, or not moved in, but I don't know what the process was, but they put us with her, I think around when I was 10.
10, okay.
Yeah, so from the point I was 10 to the point of me graduating, I was with her.
Oh, wow.
And
were you living in Kingsland?
No, I was actually in Pampa, near Amarillo.
Tampa?
Pampa? Yeah, near Amarillo, Texas.
Oh, okay.
So up north.
Oh,
been in Texas my whole life.
Okay.
I won't touch too much on that. That's probably for a different topic for a different day.
I just got to get to know who I'm talking to first, Maverick. Okay, now I know a lot more. Okay.
Let's see. Where do you come from? Like, how was your?
Where do I come from? My dad moved around a lot because he worked for IBM. I've been moved. IBM, business machines, international business machines. They make computers and everything.
Okay.
IBM. Yeah, they're probably the world's biggest computer. They created the first computers. That's probably not true, but very big in the business. So I was born in California, Santa Monica, California. But my mom and them were living in Houston, but they moved there for a couple of years, a project my dad was on. So I was born in LA, came back to Houston, lived there for a while. Then they moved to New York. I lived in two parts of New York, Carmel, New York, and Kingston, New York. And then I lived in Germany for a couple of years, came back to New York. And then in '82, I came back to Austin. Well, we moved to Austin for the first time. So I've been here since '82.
So you didn't venture out or anything after '82?
I mean, I've been all over the place. I lived in Lubbock when I went to college there for a little bit, hated it, came back to Austin, loved it. No, I've never moved except for to Kingsland. Graduated, I was like 17.
Okay, so that was that was towards the end of your high school career.
Yeah, it was my senior year. We moved that summer to Austin, which is totally weird. So every time I got to know people, every 2 years, we just moved somewhere else.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me of my childhood situation a little bit, because we were moving around constantly at the time, depending on financial situations.
Oh, yeah. Different towns or different homes within the town?
No, different towns, I think.
Oh, wow.
I remember being to several different schools. Actually, when I moved here, I ended up kind of traveling around, just exploring Kingsland a little bit. Once I actually moved here from my mom's place in Granite Shoals, and I went across the Paxotto Elementary, and I was like, holy crap. I remember the playground. I remember the playground from when I was a kid. I was like, oh my goodness. And actually, funny story, I had a really big crush on a lady from there that I still remember to this day.
A lady?
Yeah. Well, not.
How old is this lady?
Well, we were both kids at the time.
Oh, okay. So a girl.
Yeah.
Interesting choice of words.
Well. But that's about the only thing I remember. I remember having a friend, and then there was these two girls that we'd hang out with, and we'd always play hide and seek. And it was some of the best times that I've had.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a really big crush on the girl.
And how old was this? 10-ish? Well, you got there at 10, so you're talking about...
Before. This is
before.
This is when I was in elementary. This is when I was really, really young.
Okay.
Which is why I don't remember the grade. So it could have been anywhere between first and third.
Right.
Because I moved in with my mom, my Nana, going into fourth grade. So sometime in between there that I was there. But that's the only school I really remember from before.
Really?
Or that one, and then there's another one. The distinct memory I have with it was of a girl too. But I don't remember that school, because that school, it seemed big, and I had recurring dreams about it. But I don't know exactly where that school was. And I don't think it was that one, although I haven't been inside that school.
So you can't remember your school, like kindergarten, first grade, second grade? You can't remember the different?
Remember.
Really?
Yeah, I don't really.
You think
remember.
you shut it out, or is it just your memory's bad, or what?
Well, I definitely hit my head a lot when I was a kid, so I was known to be clumsy. Well, not on the monkey bars, but I think it was just in the home situation.
Okay. Oh yeah. Bumping
I
into
also.
walls.
There was one distinct time that I remember. I don't remember any of the other ones, but apparently I've been rushed to the ER a few times for hitting my head.
Me too. A lot of stitches. A lot of stitches.
But the one time I do remember, I ended up having a bump on the back of my head, and that night I stayed up a long time, and that's the one that's more prevalent, because I have a calcium buildup and I have a slight bald spot where I did hit my head.
Maybe you got a concussion.
I think it's definitely possible, because my head was shaking violently. But we didn't go to the doctors or anything. She said, my mom.
And back then, they didn't really think about concussions like they do now. They're like, walk it off.
Yeah, walk it
now
off.
it's like, oh my God, you got a concussion. I mean, I went to the nurses, and they were like, yeah, you got a concussion. You just got a concussion. That's what they didn't.
A little bit of pain medication. Maybe
you'll be okay. 20 years later, you're going to be messed up. But
what piqued your interest in software design, or was it software design?
Yes, software engineer, whatever. I'm going to be honest with you. It's nothing really sexy. My dad was really like a genius in computers. He did he has patents to this day on some stuff. And I just always knew I was going to do computers, because he did computers, even though I never took anything in class. And also, computers were really on the rise back then. So I just figured out. And so I went to Texas Tech, and I just started learning about computers. It was really just seemed like I'm pretty math oriented, and so it just seemed like a good fit. And should have given it a little more thought, but it was a good choice, I think.
Were you involved in like coding processes?
Yeah, I did a bunch of engineering for medical software, technology companies, Allscripts, Medic Computers, and Mysis Healthcare. So
that's where you ended up being for the medical software stuff.
Yeah. And so we did stuff like, I started some projects to where, I'll just talk real basic, but this was back before you could Bluetooth, no Wi-Fi, no connecting. I mean, I know I'm old Maverick, but we didn't even have emails. Like, we had a server with a dumb terminal on the screen. Everybody connected to the server. No PCs, and until a few years after I started. But so the doctor would go in there, and so we started just downloading all the financial information. So writing interfaces to, at the end of the day, after they did all their work, we would make these systems to transfer all the information into the practice management system. So you got all the financials for the doctor practice. So stuff like that. Scheduling would be there. Then it turned into. Then they did start having Palm pilots and things like that, but they didn't really have the connections where it was Bluetooth and all that. So you would plug it in, and you would say, okay, what's my schedule for the day? And it would download all of the guys' schedules for this doctor. So now you'd have all the information. So I'm seeing you, and I say, okay, here's your diagnosis, here's the procedure, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, that syncs back all the financials. So just to interface data back and forth.
So it was kind of like a USB that you would just walk around with? And then you'd plug it in? Not
No,
necessarily.
yeah, he at that time he would have like a Palm Pilot is what they call it. If you look that up, it's like a Palm Pilot, like a big one of these, like kind of like a phone, but it was specific, no calls or nothing like that. And it was a little laptop, like a little iPad almost. And so, and then at the end of the day, he would physically plug that in to the main frame or whatever and download all the information. And my code would take that data and build it into financial transactions and stuff like that, insurance and whatever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty fun.
So you went to college after 82.
Yeah.
So what were, I definitely wasn't around back then, so what were computers like at that time?
I didn't do Fortran, but the year before was the last year they do Fortran, and what that means is like you put those punch cards, like so you would write your program to do whatever, and it would punch out a series of cards, and then you stick the cards in the machine, and it reads them. I mean, doesn't that sound pretty damn old?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That sounds ridiculous, right? But so I didn't do that, but my roommate had done it the year before, and that was like I said, like 82, 83. Well, the main difference was really, the connectivity and like no real-time transactions.
Yeah.
And back then, all the doctors still had all their files in the lobby, physical hard files sitting there. So there's really didn't have it on computers. They're one of the last groups to change over electronically because they're making all the money. They're set in their ways. So.
Were they still big computers back then? Or did they have them shrunk down?
We did Unix and AIX mainframes. They were pretty big, but no. I mean, it probably couldn't even do what this does. And they were, they were pretty big. I mean, I remember when in Houston, I went to my dad into IBM, and I went to see my dad's office, and he had those machines. They were as tall as the ceiling. They had the floor was this high above, so it's all air conditioned, so it would pump in cold air. The whole room was as big as this room, probably bigger. And the machines are just sitting on this air-conditioned environment, and they had the reel-to-reel tapes spinning, so just like the Jetsons type stuff.
It would be cool to have a picture from all of that.
It would be cool, yeah. It would be cool. I need to dig some up.
What did you say?
That's a good idea.
What did you say the medical company you worked for at that time?
It was Medic, with a plus sign at the front of it.
Oh, plus.
Yeah, Medic. But then they got bought out by Mysis Healthcare, the British company. And it was really the same company for 26 years. And then they got bought out by Allscripts, which is still in existence in North Carolina, in Boston. And I think they have a bunch of different offices. So
when you started,
very rewarding.
What was your starting position, kind of? And then what was the steps that you made to work up towards?
Yeah. So when I first started, college was didn't teach me anything. I mean, it taught you some of the basics of math and stuff like that, but in the real world, just saying, hey, go in and fix this code. I was completely overwhelmed. I worked till midnight all the time. And but I would start fixing basic bugs in the code, and then I was getting familiar with the code. But then I joined a group called Conversions. So whenever we would sell our software to a new doctor, we would take all their data and then put it into our formats, into a Medic computer system. You see what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So like we have a system we're selling them, but all the data has to be in our formats. Like if you go to another software application, they've got all their data formats. So you got to move this stuff into this format.
So kind of like a mini cloud, maybe? Like where everyone puts all of their stuff to store?
It is actually on hard drives. It wasn't on a cloud. So they would have it on their physical hard drive. Okay. So they didn't have cloud like that, like you're saying. We did start that back then. I guess it kind of is a cloud like that because we would have our data servers and then they would just connect. Ultimately, they were able to connect.
But it was like not necessarily in the cloud, but kind of this is a place where you go to store all of your other information, and then it becomes a big database of just a lot of information from different doctors, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, their entire data was on here. And this was back in like this Wild West. This is not going to be an interesting story unless you're into computers, but I was, they have checks and procedures so you can't do things like this, but one time I was working on a problem that this doctor's office was having, and they do a backup at night. So everything that they do during the day gets backed up. So the next day they always have a current day. Well, it was in the middle of the day, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was so cumbersome to move around these files. I mean, you had to write this script to move just 2 data files. It was insane. And I did it backwards, and I deleted all of their patient information. You can edit this out, it's not interesting. But in the middle of the day, I did like that, and I go, and I knew immediately I had just deleted all their data. So whatever their whole practice did that whole day was gone. Like, it's gone. And I had to make that phone call. I said, hey, I just deleted all your patient data, and told my vice president, and I didn't really get in too much trouble. Nice. You know, it's just kind of like one of those deals.
Forgave you for the day?
They forgave me for the day. I was pretty important back then. They needed me. But anyway, the reason I'm saying it is just because you really couldn't do that kind of stuff these days. There's checks and procedures. They wouldn't let a Yahoo go in there and just delete all their stuff. So it's changed quite a bit.
Yeah, well, it was an accident on your part. So
it was an accident.
You're going in making scripts. Were you like the main guy making scripts and all and procedures?
Yeah, on this project I was, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you will get fired in some companies for that, doing something like that, you know. So, but jobs were plentiful back then. It was the 80s and 90s. So I mean, software jobs were everywhere. This is before outsourcing, where they outsource everything to India and Ukraine and wherever. Right. So that was back when we had job security.
Did you eventually move up into like a higher rank in a company, or?
I did. I was. They always wanted me to move to Raleigh or Boston to become a director or whatever. I never wanted to. I like managing projects and not people, and then I don't like the higher up stuff. So the highest level you could be was principal engineer, and that's what I became, as a principal engineer. So yeah, there's like 8 different, I don't know, you know, you start off as an engineer, senior engineer. There's like probably 8 other levels to get to principal engineer. So, but yeah, I did move up.
How long did it take you to get all the way up to that point?
Probably 20 years.
20 years.
20 years, yeah.
And you said, did you retire from this job? Is this what you? Or
I did retire.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the last job. They wanted me to move to Boston, and I didn't want to move, so I just said, I'm just gonna try my real estate and stuff. So
that's what you're doing now, kind of.
Yeah, I just have a vacation rental, and just kind of. I tried to build a subdivision in Austin. It came out, ran into some problems with a con man guy, but got out of that barely, and then I went over here to Kingsland and built this vacation rental house here on the Colorado. Came out. It's really good.
Did it finish recently?
I finished it in 2019. So, should have done the interview at my place. Could have been on the water. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Okay, switching topics a little bit because I'm interested in real estate. What was your mindset when you first decided to start doing that?
Mindset? Okay. Yeah. Well, I had one of my best friends, Rusty Johnson and Wendy Johnson. They live out here, and they've been doing vacation rentals they stopped doing vacation rentals now. That's how long they've been doing it. But back then, you know, he had a really awesome job, and so did she, but they just kind of slowed it down and wanted to do vacation rentals. So they're making a lot of money, and I wanted to get out of the hustle and bustle of this corporate life. And I always saw, for 10 years, I planned getting out here. So my mindset was just to build this house and have a job making a decent amount of money, you know, so that I could have more time and, you know, and not have to be dependent upon a 9-to-5 job. And it definitely was more than 9 to 5. It was like 6 to 9, really. But the market took off, and it far exceeded my expectations. So it really worked out well.
You know, probably, especially right after COVID, when all the people, everyone started moving down here. So it probably really helped the market.
COVID really was bad for a lot of people, but for me, it was been fantastic. I never even got COVID, and the business went crazy because everybody had all this money that the government was giving them, and so they're all spending it like crazy. So our business was crazy.
And this was real estate business?
That was still vacation rental.
Oh, still vacation rental.
Yeah.
Was it just one property that you
I just had one property. I was going to do more properties. I thought I was going to end up doing more, but prices have gone so crazy. What I built my entire house for, just the dirt costs that much now. Like everything, the driveway, the house, the swimming pool, boat dock, everything I paid to do that, I'd have to spend that much money just for a piece of dirt. The same, actually half the amount of dirt. So prices have gone, it's a little risky for me. So
to get more. I
might do something a little smaller, but.
Well, is the market going down? I've been hearing stuff about the market going down a little bit, but I'm not sure if that's actually truthful.
I mean, we are like they say soft recession, but unemployment today they're saying, or inflation is down. They're saying they're going to lower interest rates in next month, which is going to be huge. That's what's keeping everybody from investing because
they're just waiting.
Yeah, and people have their house. They can't sell it because then they got to go buy another house, and you can only get half the amount of house over the interest rate is so high. People are locked in at 3.5% interest. You can't afford. Nobody wants to let go of 3.5% interest.
Right.
So because you're going to get half the house, you know what I mean. So I think hopefully it'll get better.
See, real estate's an interesting topic for me because I looked into it several years back. Obviously, I don't have any sort of capital to be even thinking about it.
You're only 21.
Now.
Yeah,
right.
You got to start somewhere.
So I had talked to some kids about maybe teaming up and doing it. It never worked out. Everyone, I seem to be the action taker out of any friend group I've ever been. So
yeah, be careful partnering with people.
Right. So any idea that I've ever had in every, even this podcast, I mean, I've had people mention doing things, mentioning wanting to do things, mentioning wanting to start a business, become business partners, stuff like that. It seems to me like the only person that ever takes action on any of those thoughts processes has been me, and kind of leads to a little bit of a lonely spot for me. But at the same time, I've met so many cool people. I've met and had so many long conversations. I'm doing this podcast now, which I'm super stoked for because I'm going to be able to meet and talk to and really hear the perspectives of so many different people as long as I keep putting myself out there and keep trying to talk to people.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's a super exciting path that I'm on, I guess
awesome.
I could say.
Yeah.
Also, I just enrolled into that Peterson Academy stuff.
You did?
I did today.
Are you, now explain what the you're in the school.
Right.
Are you
It starts
on a degree program? Are you already on a path? Or just like?
On the 21st it comes out and complete. And well, I think it's the beta. But on the 21st it comes out, and then I'm going to be able to get on and look at it. On
August 21st?
Yeah, August 21st.
What comes out?
The actual school itself.
Oh, that's when it opens?
It's when it's available.
Oh, wow.
So I got in early, so I pre-enrolled, and
oh, cool.
So I got it a little bit cheaper, and then I'll have better access to things. But it's supposed to start with 18 courses.
Okay.
18 8-hour courses, and
so everybody there's only one path, like 18 8-hour classes, like
you have access to any class that you want. Basically, you don't have a specific path that you have to follow, and you do it all in your own time. So there's not a specific way. It's not like you have to do this, or say, put it in perspectives of college. You don't have to do the basics,
or undergrad,
quote unquote basics, and then go into a lesser, but more advanced, and then working up all the way to a PhD. You can start wherever you want, take these courses. So say he has one class that I'm definitely taking, I'm probably going to take first, is the Thoughts of Nietzsche, or I don't know what it's necessarily called, but it's about Nietzsche, and it's about
Thoughts of what?
Nietzsche.
Oh, Nietzsche, yeah.
And it's Jordan Peterson, that's his class, the one that I saw that he's teaching. So I want to start with that one and then maybe branch off to the other ones. And I think it said something about having nutrition courses on there and fitness courses, which will probably be some of the last ones that I get to, considering I'm already in the space of fitness and nutrition.
Right.
'Cause I do work with clients, and then I also work around nutrition and do my own kind of research on nutrition already. So it'll probably be some of the last ones I get to. But the ones that I'm really interested in are the psychological based. There's the neuroscience one. I'm definitely going to look into that one because that one's very interesting to me. And then kind of work my way around to which one's more interesting and which one's less interesting, and then just probably have fun with it.
Is there like a degree at the end of the day, or are you just kind of gaining information, or which is cool?
For me, the purpose of me taking it, I don't care about the certification that you do get after it. At the end of it, I just want to learn more. And
for sure.
That's completely my drive.
Yeah, it sounds pretty interesting. Yeah, he's awesome. How much are the classes?
It's after pre-enrollment. Pre-enrollment right now, it's $449 a year. So it's significantly cheaper than going to, say, an online degree or a degree in person, which is what the goal was, to make it affordable for anyone to get in, and it teaches you practical skills that you can actually use in real life instead of, some people that may not be going towards the mathematical route or the science route.
English, history, or
right.
Well,
So
history is kind of practical.
Yeah. So it kind of takes that out of it, and then it puts you in these practical situations where fitness, nutrition, psychological stuff, those are definitely going to help you because it helps you build practical skills that, not transpose, but they're useful and compound exponentially across the entirety of your life, the entire areas of your life that you go into. So,
what are you going to do with Nietzsche? How's that going to help you practical in your life?
That one, I think.
It could.
I think it's just going to help me understand the mind's a deeper understanding.
Deeper thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he's considered one of the greater thinkers, and he has plenty of books out. So I want to kind of dig into his mind and understand his mind, and then maybe I can connect pieces into what I have in pictured, my perspective on the world, and maybe piece some things together that I maybe haven't. And then also like the neuroscience and the other psychology courses that I could take. I'm interested to see what I can learn from them and what I can piece together in kind of the spider web that I have in my mind of my understanding of things, and see what I can increase or maybe even completely new parts that I can learn and then add to it. So it's kind of...
So you're wide open. You're not really looking for a certain thing. You're just like hoping to get a broader perspective.
Yeah, and I would say my perspective, or the way that I think, the entire interest that I would say is just humans. It's people and how they think and how they react to different things. So in the short phrase, you could probably categorize me as some sort of social psychologist. Obviously, I'm not, I don't have a PhD in it. I don't have any sort of certificate that says it. But the way that I understand how my mind works, I fit very clearly into that category in my own understanding anyways.
Yeah.
Maybe it changes over time because that's just how just the more I piece things together, the more it'll develop, and then maybe there is some other pathway that opens up that I'm more interested in. But as of right now, the way that I piece things together and the way that I understand and observe other people's actions and my own, I have a deep interest in understanding why people make certain decisions about different things, and also kind of predicting what people are going to do in certain situations. So it's a lot of correlation that I've made over the years of listening to people, watching people, and maybe even slightly interfering and kind of inputting my own input in some
meddling. I think they call that meddling.
Not
you
in a
like
bad
to meddle
way.
with people? What's going on?
Not in a bad way, but just to see.
Wait, you're supposed to be objective. If you're a psychologist, you're meddling here. You admitted it.
I
doesn't sound right.
I try not to interfere with the natural course of things, because I have found out the more I try to interfere with things, the
when you
more...
say interfere, for your own gain?
I'd never try and do
like
things
for
my own
dates or
gains.
something like that? Or
No. When I impose on someone's life in a way that maybe seems intrusive, I guess.
Okay.
So like, I found when I feel like I'm right about a subject and someone's lost,
Mm-hmm.
then if I tell them directly what the answer is, they don't listen. But if
Yeah.
I can help them understand in their own way and help them put the pieces together in their own mind, then it seems to help them a significant amount more than it otherwise would have if I was to just come up to you and be like, hey, that's wrong, and this is the reason it's wrong.
Yeah.
So it'd be better if you fixed it.
Sure.
'Cause in most situations, no one listens. And I'm speaking from in that sense from personal experience of helping my ex, or
Yeah.
trying to help my ex, trying to help some friends in my friend group.
Yeah.
And it always seems like if I take the direct path of saying, hey, this is wrong and this is why, it seems like they
Is
don't.
that how it is with you? If I tell you what you're doing wrong, you're not going to listen?
Well, if someone tells me what I'm doing wrong,
Right.
I try and understand what they're coming from,
Yeah.
and see why they think it's wrong, and if it makes sense in this whole spiderweb of information that I have in my head,
Yeah.
then I'll analyze it. I'll sit there and analyze it. I do a lot of writing, so I'll probably write about
You
it.
do?
I do. That
Like a
backpack,
journal?
Yeah, the backpack I walk around with. It's
I wish I had done that. No, seriously, I wish I had kept a journal. That's
Well,
a good thing.
It's I mean, and I categorize very specifically. It's like this one's specifically for podcasts.
Yeah.
I walk around with 12 journals in my backpack.
Oh, you told me that. Yeah.
So, and it's all around different subjects. So one is critical thinking, one is gene mutations, which is what I'm looking into right now.
Are you serious?
This one's podcast.
Gene
I have business
mutations,
stuff.
no.
But it's how my mind works, because if I don't do it that way, I get overwhelmed and I freeze. So that's why I bought so many notebooks.
Yeah.
And I have 3 that I'm not using, that aren't labeled, and they're just
You need
waiting
an
for something
iPad.
else. Well, that computer that I have,
Yeah.
it turns
Right.
into a laptop, or it's a laptop. It turns
Right.
into a tablet, and
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
write on it. And I
There you
actually
go.
have 3 or 4 journals, or folders that are specific to different
Right.
things. Like I have one for church, which when I'm at church, if I have anything that I want to write down, that's where I write it down.
Oh, okay.
And I don't pull out one of these, because it's just
Right.
It's well, it tends to be a little darker in the church room because
Right. You need the
someone's
light.
preaching.
There, yeah.
So I can just get out the tablet, or I can turn it into a tablet, and then I
Aren't
can
you
start
supposed
writing.
to be paying attention to the preaching? Isn't that
Well,
why you're there?
I'm paying attention, but when, like for example, last
attention.
night while I was there was a message, and I put some. He said something about Jesus and
Something about
talking-
Jesus.
I don't remember.
You
the
might have
exact
missed
thing.
the most important part of your life because you're on your notepad.
No, I brought it out
Something
after.
about Jesus.
He said something, and I was like, okay, don't forget what he just said. And then as I was getting, because I was trying to hurry up and get my computer out so I could write it down. And then as soon as I got it down, or got it out and got to the page where I could write, I was like, crap, I forgot what he said. So I just said, he said something about Jesus and the truth, and I put that in print, or like little dashes so I would
Yeah.
remember it. And then I went on a whole tangent, because something, in this case, what we were talking about, spiderweb, something clicked all of a sudden in this spider web, and something kind of added to it, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is like a light bulb. Literally, it just connected and made sense. And then I went on a whole tangent to it. I can actually get it out and have you read it if you want. But it was a interesting thing that I put together, because as I was thinking about the truth in relation to reality. And
Do you smoke weed?
I do not. I've never done any sort of
Man, you
recreational.
should probably try that. Sounds like you'd be coming up with some really good ideas.
And maybe, but
You
I
wouldn't
stray
remember
away from
anything,
that stuff.
You'd be like, man, I solved everything, but I forgot it.
But I might as well get it out since we're here, and we'll probably finish up with it.
Who's the old ripped guy?
That's you.
Oh, shit.
That's the best way, because I have a.
That's how you got compliment old ripped. All right, I'll take it.
Because there's a guy in my phone also named John. I've come across
John
a lot
who?
of Johns.
Oh, I thought you said also named John.
Yeah,
Oh,
his name is John.
Yeah. It's a
And-
common name, biblical.
And then, yeah, speaking of that, yesterday I talked to him before, but his name was also John, and I was like, oh my goodness, I've just 3 Johns that I already know, 2 in the gym. Okay, let's see.
You know, you wanted to talk with Jordan Peterson because you wanted him to analyze you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very common. People would love to have like a genius that just. So, have you ever gone to a psychologist before and talked to anybody?
I have not.
No?
I've,
You should maybe do that.
maybe, but at the same time,
And I don't mean that in a negative way.
right. Let's see.
Because you probably have something from your childhood that
Yeah,
you need to deal with.
One of my clients.
Everybody does.
Yeah, one of my clients was a child psychologist,
Mm-hmm.
and we tend to talk about
One of your
things.
clients? Oh.
Well, yeah, one of my
Oh,
personal
gotcha.
training.
Yeah.
And we tend to talk about, especially in the beginning when she started working with me about a year ago, we started talking about kind of childhood traumas, and we would go over it. And I had my own ideas of how I process things and what possible things were childhood traumas. I've been attacking my quote unquote traumas for a very long time because
Attacking them?
yeah. So
But you
putting
can't,
them
you can't remember, though. You said you couldn't remember. Like,
some things are small enough to where I can remember.
yeah.
Now, anything before the age of 10 years old, I do not remember. And this is something that we were talking about,
Yeah.
me and Kathleen, that we were talking about for a little bit. And it was more on the cusp of these things I don't remember. So it's entirely possible that these things did happen in some sort of way, and then it got engraved in my brain at a very subconscious level. For one thing, I can definitely say is my emotions. I tend not to show. I'm an emotional person, but I tend not to show them because I have a false sense of safety, and which
Safety?
is
Or
feeling safe.
Right. Because
And
I would think it would be like you're insecure if you're not showing your feelings, not secure.
Well, a false sense of safety means, in the way that I put it together in my brain, is I've always.
Is that your false realities you were talking about? Is that what you just said?
Not necessarily. So the false sense of safety is, let's see if I can word it correctly.
I mean, what's wrong with feeling secure? How is that false?
It's false because I was kind of tricking myself into thinking that not feeling these emotions
Oh, denial?
were
Making you denying it.
right.
It's common.
So when I do feel the emotions that I tend to I don't block them out anymore, but when these emotions do happen, they're not very prevalent. So when I notice it, I make very sure that I sit there and feel it to the fullest extent that I can. But the safety feeling, I've only really experienced with being in a relationship, for one, but it's the complete openness of just being able to let go and let everything fall apart.
Yeah.
And still feel safe. That's in my opinion the truest form of safety in the
Absolutely.
way that I've been pictured it, and I've never really had that feeling on a constant basis.
Yeah.
Even around in a relationship, like there's been spouts where I feel like I can just completely fall apart and I'll still be okay. I've had it happen once, maybe twice, and the correlation there is I think it's probably because I moved around and I wasn't really with a solid family for a long time.
Yeah.
So I kind of developed this false sense of safety, as I was calling it, where even though I'm not always in my feelings, I still feel like I was safe. I still felt like I was safe and I could handle myself because I was confident in my ability to protect myself. But I wasn't confident in letting someone else see me completely falling apart.
But I don't think that's false. I mean, if you're confident that you can protect yourself, then you have a security. You don't need anybody else to make that happen for you. That's good. You're secure.
Well, so maybe false sense of safety was a wrong term for it.
Yeah.
But
Sounds like you're bottling your emotions up.
well, it might be that's what I'm thinking. It might be a natural subconscious thing, because when I do feel the emotions coming up, like when I start getting a little teary, I make sure to sit in them. And even if I'm somewhere else, like I'll make sure that I walk out and I let myself sit in those emotions because I know it's important for me to feel
What
them.
type of thing triggers this emotion? Like, what are we talking about here?
They happen randomly because I tend not to feel things right when they happen, and usually happens a day or two after. But like
An action today will affect you like a couple days later, you're thinking?
right,
Like an
Well, if
interaction with a person?
not with a person, but an emotional interaction from something maybe in my past coming up. And then,
You want somebody super religious?
well, I would like that, yes.
Yeah.
For, in an instant, just because it fits my morals. So in the future,
Well, yeah, if you're that way, it'd be
Right.
better if you had not a crackhead.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
2 crackheads.
which
a
in
comedian
this area,
says, yeah.
it's kind of hard to find that. So I'm
Yeah.
not even really looking.
Well, there's
so.
a lot of religious people here, right? It's very
Um,
religious around here, right?
This church I'm going to seems
Which one do you go to?
Hill Country Fellowship. So
Okay.
it's a bigger church, and the people that I've been around since I've been there, I'm enjoying it. I put myself out of my comfort zone definitely, and they're actually the first people I've met that, or the people that I've been talking to the last few weeks. They actually invited me out to do things, and that's something that's foreign to me because in my entire life I don't think I've ever really had people invite me to go out and do things with them. I
You had a
mean,
bunch of friends in
maybe-
high school or something like that?
I
or-
didn't have many friends in high school.
Really? Why is that?
Acquaintances, maybe.
Are you into sports?
I was in tennis, yeah.
Okay.
But I never really considered most of them my friends because I didn't do anything with them outside of tennis.
Oh,
and
yeah,
even then,
right.
in high school, I was very shy and I didn't hardly talk to
Right.
anyone. So for the most part, I just stuck to myself, and people would
Okay,
kind
yeah.
of, not necessarily pick on me, but pry at me, try and get me to talk, stuff like that.
Right.
And I enjoyed it. I always smiled. I was a smiler. But
Yeah, you're a quiet guy, man. Like, I've known you for like a year and a half, and it's like you never said one word, and now you can't shut up. It's like, dude, I'm just joking. But, once I got you talking, I think it was because I mentioned Jordan Peterson when I was over there doing curls, and then
Yeah, it
you
might have
started,
been.
and so now it's been like nonstop. But you are hard to talk to, at first. I mean, not hard, but, I'm the same way, though, because I put my headphones on, I just want to work out and get out of there.
yeah.
So
See, for me, the gym is my social time. So when I'm there
I
working
know.
out, I try and
There's
just,
two
I just talk.
people, and there's
Yeah.
two kinds of people. There's you, and then there's me. Because I hate being in the gym. Like I hate it. So I want to get out.
Yeah.
So I just, man, hurry up, get out. But I like talking with you. I like talking with Jim.
Yeah, Jim.
And so Jim's hilarious. He's a super smart guy, and I don't want to be rude. So
I'm
it's,
excited to have him on at some point.
I want to see this one. Can I sit in the crowd and watch him? He's hilarious, man.
You could be a co-host. Just sit on the
Okay,
sidelines.
dude, that'd be good. That would be
that'd
good.
Be a good.
It's
cool-
always
cool
better with 3
conversation.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that might be a good
What I like about
conversation
Jim
to have.
is like every time we talk, he's
Something new.
cracking up. No, we laugh like
Yeah.
it's something new, but like he's just got a great sense of humor. We just like if you watch, we'll just be laughing out loud like hysterically because he likes to be a dumbass, But he's super smart. He says serious stuff.
If you have the capacity to laugh while you're talking about serious stuff,
Yeah.
it makes it a much easier time.
Right,
For sure.
not so serious. Yeah.
But
So
I think that might wrap us up for today.
All right, man.
We've been talking for a good bit.
good talk with the Maverick.
Yes, sir. It was
First
nice.
show
First show.
ever.
And,
Good to talk with you, man.
future ones. To
What's
come.
that?
Future shows to come.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Actually, in thinking about just doing walkarounds, or maybe just having the mic on me while I'm talking. They won't be recorded,
Yeah.
or they won't be recorded on a phone.
Right.
They'll just be audio recordings where I'm just talking and maybe walking
Yeah.
around or just sharing my thoughts, like while I'm sitting down, maybe studying or maybe researching. When I get a thought that I want to think
Yeah.
about, I might start doing those. So it'd be probably 10, 15
Okay.
minutes talks, and then I can post those. So that'd be also interesting.
It wasn't something else you were going to ask me, man. It's nothing about my traveling or nothing. I'm totally.
I wanted to
kidding.
dive into one topic specifically, and then maybe plan on having you come back at a later date.
Oh, okay. Well, you mean do that next time?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, but this
Okay.
one I wanted to specifically
Hold tight,
dive
guys. You're gonna have to wait. Sorry.
on. Yeah. But with that, I think we're gonna call it.
All right, cool, Mav. Appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. It
Hope
was a lot of
you
fun.
hope you don't mind I called you Mav. Did you have a nickname?